Hey Leo, how you doing? This is the Center Street Cemetery in Wallingford, Connecticut. And it dates back to the 1600s. I think the oldest surviving stone is 1683, back in the Pilgrim times, when they were burning witches and whatnot. So this is one of the rarer cemeteries in Connecticut because it's got a mix of old and new. This is one of the ones that still has newer burials, although it goes back hundreds of years here in the Wallingford, Connecticut area. So I'm just going to take a walk around, get some fresh air. Let's see what they say here. It's the old map of the place. You are here. Hi, Scarlett. Yep. You probably have some of those here. I'm going to try to find the oldest one. I think it's William Holt, number 3. Was born 1600, died in 1683. Okay, so if I'm right here, number 3 is over here to the side. And if I remember correctly, it's just an old rock with a initials carved into it, I think. Here's number 6. That's pretty old too. It's 703. That's what people did. They just put a rock down and scratched out either initials or a date of their dearly beloved. Some of them didn't even get that. They just got maybe a wooden cross or something, which obviously quickly deteriorated and broke down from the weather. Henry Andrews died 1926, age 77. Mary Hall, his wife, died 1924, 74 years old. U.S. Army vet. So here's, as I said, a newer burial right in the middle of the older ones. So that's kind of unique here in Connecticut, that they still have newer burials here. Here's an interesting monument in memory of the Honorable Abraham Doolittle, died 1690, age 70. Born in England, was a progenitor of the family in America. Yeah, they're not always stone, Leo. I mean, I'm sure they had crosses, wooden crosses and this sort of thing back in the day. Probably more often than not, but those broke down, obviously, very quickly, 20, 30 years and they're gone. But over here is number 3, straight ahead, and that's supposedly the oldest surviving original marker from 1683. I forgot the name of the guy. Hull, I think. Hull. There's an Amtrak train coming through across the street there. So There's the back of the stone. And there's the front. You can see it scratched out. 1683 WH. That's all he did. And then later on, some ancestors placed this marker here to commemorate their ancestor. Yeah, the white markers are granite. The brown ones are sandstone, which is not a great stone. It's quite plentiful here in central Connecticut, but it tends to break down quickly, as you can see. I mean, it gets very weathered, and water gets in there, and the thing just falls apart over a number of years. The granite seems to hold up better. Some of the older ones here. They forgot to carve the angel face on this. Here lies the body of Mrs. Abigail Heath, wife of Captain Benjamin Hull. I can't see when she was deceased. Yeah, this is a brownstone. It's probably around 1700, I would think. I mean, considering it's over 300 years old, or just about 300 years old, they've held up pretty good, these. But many of them that I've come across, they don't hold up well at all. They just fall apart. So here's an example of the slate stone. These are actually pretty nice. And they held up very well. The drawings are usually very nice on these. I can't see. Mr. Ezra Smith, maybe? Died 1757. So I just wanted to get out of work today. Had a crazy day, crazy week, busy, and you know, I got out at lunchtime a little bit, walked around in the woods by my job. But I needed to cut loose and get outside, get some fresh air. Very overcast here. Might get some rain passing through, but I hope it clears up tomorrow. I want to go do a hike tomorrow morning, first thing. It's good to hear the birds out. Yeah, I tried to stream on the other app I have, but it was cutting out. So I just scrapped that short video, and I just went with the YouTube app with this video. Hopefully this holds up a little better. So far the power isn't being drained too much on this. So the spirits here seem to be at rest. Not benevolent at all. In memory of Anna, daughter of Mr. Michael and Mrs. Millicent Doolittle, who died August 28th, 1812, in the 14th year of her age. Wow. That's so sad. Young children dying. I mean, that, you know, modern medicine is such a blessing for us. We take for granted, you know. Stuff like strep throat and then this sort of thing would just kill people way back then. Hey, Candid Explorer. Good to see you, honey. We're at the Center Street Cemetery in Wallingford, Connecticut. It's one of the older cemeteries in Connecticut. And it's kind of unique because it's still accepting burials here. I think it has something like 6,000 or 7,000 burials here altogether. So you see some of the old, and then over here you see like a newer one. Frishkin P. Starr, daughter of Betty and George, beloved by her brother Virgil, her smile touched many lives. 1945, 2015. Over here in this cemetery, I think I went by it. It's over there where that, just past the tree, there's an American flag. It's what's called a Cenotaph, which is a monument for somebody who's not buried here. And in this case, it is for Lyman Hall, who was a revolutionary person. I think he signed the Declaration of Independence. He was from this area. There's a high school named after him, Lyman Hall. But I believe Lyman and his wife moved to North Carolina or thereabouts and are buried there. But the people here obviously remember the gentleman. This is probably the most famous person buried here. Well, not buried here. Memorialized. State of Georgia. Okay. State of Georgia, having removed to Augusta the remains of Lyman Hall, signer of the Declaration of Independence, and there erected a monument to his memory. The tablet originally covering his grave was in 1857 presented by William Diagnic to this state, by whose order it was deposited in his native town. Okay, so what that's saying is that this stone on top is the original burial stone from Georgia. And I guess he was buried there and moved. And the state of Georgia sent this stone here to Wallingford. And this is what the town did, is they set up the nice Cenotaph monument to their native son. The Spirit of 76 flag. A little worse for wear and tear on there. But take a walk here. Nice, and it's not muddy or anything. See this table stone. These were common in the 1700s. Usually somebody of wealth would be able to afford something like this. And you know, there probably would have been a slate, not a slate, a marble type thing here describing who's buried here. And what they did is the ancestors on the weekends would come here and put a tablecloth on the on a stone and have a picnic with their deceased relative. So you see a few of them here. But all of the older cemeteries in Connecticut seem to have a few of these. Mostly from the 1700s, as I said. So it's Sandstone Tower here. John Munson died December 25th, 1895, aged 82. Fanny, his wife, died October 1st, 1849, aged 30. Sarah, his second wife, died December 23rd, 1853, aged 29. As Eliza, his third wife, died June 4th, 1888, aged 78. This gentleman was married 3 times, and twice his brides died young, maybe during childbirth, which was a traumatic experience back in the day. It still is, but not so much deadly as it was back then. So, what this is here. Probably Revolutionary War veteran. Okay, Grand Army of the Republic. So there's a Civil War veteran. Civil War veteran. I can't tell who it is. Pretty worn. Died 1826, aged 86. Hey Red, how you doing, buddy? I'm at the Center Street Cemetery in Wallingford, Connecticut, taking a walk around, getting some fresh air. And I was telling the ladies here that this is one of the older cemeteries in Connecticut, but it is still accepting burials. The earliest burial here, the earliest known burial, is 1683, and there's new ones. There's 1 or 2 fresh burials, maybe just a couple days old here. I might walk by here in a minute. Old as heck. Yeah, it is, man. It's like 300 plus years, you know. There was a family here that the wife in the 1600s was accused of witchcraft, and findagrave.com erroneously places her here as being buried here, but there's no evidence that she actually is. She was accused of witchcraft. I forgot her name, but she and her husband left and moved to Long Island, where she died. So, I mean, presumably Long Island's a long-ass way away from here. You know, modern driving to Long Island would take about 2 hours at least. So I'm thinking that the woman is buried in Long Island somewhere, or on Long Island, and her sons and daughters and their families are still buried here. But times were crazy back then. You know, people were accusing people of witchcraft and all this shit. You know, it was like guilty until proven innocent, essentially. It's the Beach family. Moses Beach died 1826, 51 years old. Lucretia, wife, died 1860 maybe, can't tell. Okay, so that building there, way down yonder, railroad tracks run alongside it, and that is an old coal building. It's abandoned, but they used to house coal there to run the steam engines back in the day. So there's a lot of abandoned stuff like that around here that could be explored. Philip Talcott died April 27th, 1872, age 40. Rebecca Hall, his wife, died April 6th, 1918, aged 84. So she outlived the man by a good 50 years almost. Here's a newer one. World War II vet. Looks like a Greek or Russian Orthodox cross here, I'm not sure. So these stones have been washed. This gentleman died in 2001, Vietnam vet. And over 20 years, that thing would have been black from all the soot. So the family still comes by and washes it, which is nice to see. I see a lot of these veterans monuments, the white marble ones that are just black with soot. Nobody cares anymore, you know. It's a nice walk here. The other side of the wall is Colony Road, Route 5. That goes all the way down into New Haven. Yeah, it is big. Candid. I think there's something like 7,000 or 8,000 burials here. Going way, way back to the 1600s. These trees are probably a couple hundred years old. So this person here is famous for some reason. Number 10. You guys can scroll back to the beginning of the video when I was at the map and they had the numbers there. You can look them up, see who number 10 was. Waldron, Harry. So this seems to be a newer section here on this side of the wall. A lot of 2000s, 1900s burials here. Granddaughter, Denise Bennett. Wow, 6 years old. Poor kid. It just breaks my heart when I see young children like that buried. They never had a chance. Huskies, Vietnam, World War II. Looks like maybe a father and a son. Those in the circle are Civil War. And they were killed in action, it looks like, October 1863, September 62. June 1864. Yeah, these are all Civil War casualties. There's some more Civil War vets who were not casualties of the war, but later died. They got their own little section here. Yes, that's true, Scarlet. Very true. I haven't traced my ancestors, Leo. My ancestors are mostly in the old country, in Poland. As far as the history of the cemetery, yeah, I did look that up, and that's where I found that the story of the witch who was rumored to be buried here, but I don't believe she is. There was a witch in the 1600s, 1660s, I think, that was accused, I think maybe found guilty of witchcraft. She and her husband fled to Long Island and lived there. Their sons and daughters, though, remained here in town, and I think the sons and daughters are buried here, but the parents are buried on Long Island somewhere. The Puritans were nuts. I'm sorry. I mean, they were just insane, some of the shit they did. This looks like a German name. Leo, how many generations of your family is here? I don't know about that, Scarlet, if he came all the way down here. I know he ended up in Windsor and then Hartford. Hartford is about, 20, 25, 26 miles from here to the north. They might have come here. But there's an interesting story about the old Indian trail from Massachusetts, from Boston, all the way down into Connecticut, where the early settlers, Thomas Hooker and all the other ones, that followed this path. And there's a guy on YouTube, an older gentleman who was retired. He actually has made several videos of these old paths. It's like up in the upper part of the state, the northeastern part of the state, down into Vernon, and then down into East Hartford. And I think they crossed over the Connecticut River into Hartford from East Hartford. Old Silver Lane, I think, is part of the trail where the early pioneers came. There's a cemetery building, so obviously, you know, they got a crew here that buries people still. Above the garage there it says Center Street Cemetery, 1683. Wow. Leo, definitely look back into that. It would be great if you could travel back to Russia sometime, Leo, and maybe find some of your ancestors. Some of the cemeteries that I see on these Facebook groups that take pictures of cemeteries, and some of the ones in Europe, in Poland and in Russia, they're beautiful, beautiful stones. I mean, they would blow these stones away. The intricate workmanship there. I mean, just it's like a museum. Look at this old tree here. Yes, I remember that. They carried the wife. This thing has to be at least a couple hundred years old. Is it a chestnut tree? Those chestnuts up there? Yeah. I believe these are chestnuts. There's nothing in there. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not chestnuts. I'll have to figure that out and see what kind of tree that is. Foreign exchange student when I was 7th grade. Wow. Well, look, I mean, now's your time. You know, when your daughter's a little older, maybe you can go take a month or two and go travel and look back into your ancestry. Maybe find some old aunts or something, or some old cousins that you never knew you had, and they might have some photographs they can share, this sort of thing. My dad's family came over, for the most part, to the United States. My mom's family's still in Poland. My mom's the only member of her family that came here. So I have relatives over in Poland. I'm friends with them on Facebook, my cousins. But they're all, you know, getting up there themselves. I mean, I remember seeing them. A couple times I visited Poland. I was 7 years old, and then I was 17 the second and last time I went to Poland. And my cousin Anna was, when I was 17, I think she was about 10. So now she's a grandmother too, you know. Life goes on. Here's a newer one. Whitman, U.S. Navy, World War II. So, look at this, Leo, Michigan. and Maine. Looks like Thomas was from Michigan, maybe, and the wife was from Maine. Maybe that's what that means. Wow, Scarlett, you're old school. I have to get up to Windsor, where the old cemetery there is. One of the pastors that came down with Hooker is buried there. I think he was buried in 1636 or something like that, and his original marker is the oldest one in Connecticut. I haven't seen that one yet, but I mean to get up there in Windsor. I forgot the name of the guy, but it's like one of those table ones. I think it's a table one. It's still in the Windsor Cemetery. The Windsor is where they had the original witch trials. The witch craze started in 1647, I think. And it went on for about 20 years in Connecticut, even before Massachusetts, before Salem. Connecticut had their witch trials. There's another train passing through. Looks like southbound to New Connecticut Rail. So look, that might be like a Hartford to New Haven train. It's not Amtrak or anything like that. But Wallingford's a nice town. I work here. My office is here, I should say. And I don't. When I'm in the office, I'm in Wallingford. But when I'm on the road, I'm all over the place. This week, I've had a lot of time in the office, so I was going a little bit stir crazy. I don't like sitting in the office too much. I like to get on the road. Your ancestors were hung. Hey, Scarlett, have you seen the cemetery in Hartford? Because they have like stone bricks in place in front of the cemetery on Main Street, and they have the names of the accused witches there with the dates. Your ancestors are probably on some of those stones. I think what they did with the witches is they hung them at the old state house, and they probably just buried them in a hole and with no marker. So we're back to the beginning here. This is the map. So that number 10 that we looked at back on the other opposite end is Caleb Merriman, 1707 to 1770. I'm not sure what his significance is. Yeah, check out Hartford, Scarlett. A lot of interesting stuff there. New Haven had trials, yes they did. Yep. Up the hill there to the left is a what's the name of that wing place? Archie Moore's. So I think I'm gonna go there and grab myself some wings for dinner at Archie Moore's. But thank you, friends, for stopping by and going on a walk with me here at the old Center Street Cemetery in Wallingford. Much appreciated. right, everybody have a great weekend, and get out there, enjoy your world. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Take care.